Well, hello everyone. This is Dr. Ayleen, and this is another daily dose of medicine walk. And for those of you who are listening in on Blog Talk Radio, this is Healing House Radio. So, Luna, the MCAT is right here, and it got a little toasty outside, so she decided to come in where it's a little bit cooler. And it's always so great when you are able to have pets and you're able to just be yourself. That's the most wonderful thing about pets. I mean, whether they be cats or dogs, they accept us for exactly who we are. Sometimes even more than we can accept ourselves. So, there you go. There you go. So what we're going to be talking about today is that idea of not just accepting ourselves, but being totally comfortable with who we are. You do you, which is one of the hardest things that an empath can get their heads wrapped around. That sometimes we need to take off the empath hat and just be ourselves. And when we can't manage to do that, what it does is it creates a situation of burnout. So, what do you like? How are you doing today? No, really, how are you doing? That should be a question you ask yourself every single day. First thing in the morning, look in the mirror and say, hey, how are you? How are you doing? What do you want to do today? Because there will always be people who are going to be, pulling us in every direction. There are always people who, and not as a fault thing, but who will instinctively want you to be there for them and to be able to support them. And we need to be able to shut that down every once in a while. And it's not that empathy is a bad thing to leave on unless it's disrupting your life, unless it's not letting you take those steps back and to be able to just chill out and take it easy and, have a snack, watch a movie, play a video game, go for a walk where you can just be you, where you can be alone up here. We need to be able to be alone up there. And because of our gift, that can be a hard thing sometimes. So, how do we do that? Number one, set good boundaries. Good fences make good neighbors. And the reason for that statement is, well, originally it was that if one neighbor had like a goat or sheep or something that would go and eat their neighbor's vegetables, a fence, a good fence, would keep both of them happy because the sheep or whatever it is, or goat would be safe, and so would the vegetables. So by creating a very good boundary, it allows for there to be no issues between yourself and someone else. And one of those boundaries has got to be, okay, I need my own space. I cannot be there for you right now. I cannot be there for you today. Here's somebody else who can be there for you. Or give me a call tomorrow, or I'll give you a call tomorrow, and we'll set something up later in the week. But for right now, I need to be on my own. I need to be by myself. And we've talked in other videos about how important alone time is and that it can get really good once you get used to it. Just most empaths aren't used to it. They feel uncomfortable if there's no one to resonate off of, partially because since they've always resonated off other people, they've never learned who they are when they're alone. And that's one of the most important things that an empath can learn is who are you when you are alone, when there's nobody else to resonate off of, when you're just dealing with what you like and what your emotions are. And that is a wonderful exploration. And it took me a lot of years to figure it out. It took me a long time to be able to, first just figure out how to be alone. And second, to be okay with the idea that I have a right to that. And we all have a right to be alone. We have a right to be on our own. We don't have to always be there for other people. Because the thing is, the more we're there for ourselves and the more we take care of ourselves and the more we focus on what we need, that actually means that what we give and our ability to be there for other people is that much stronger. And it may be a difficult thing to be able to get your head wrapped around. That actually, the less you do for people, the more you can do for people. Because that burnout is an ugly thing. And what happens is we are no longer able to keep our empathy in a place of choice when we get that tired, when we get that drained. And that's when we lash out. That's when we get frustrated. That's when we want to walk away from people. That's when we want to say things to remove people from our lives just because in that moment we don't have anything left to give. And even though we don't have anything left to give, there's always people who are going to need. I mean, that's the ultimately the thing. There will always be people who need you. If you're waiting to, well, as soon as everybody else is settled, then I'll take my break. Then, I'll move myself up to the front if everybody else is taken care of. You can't do that. You can't live that way. Or if you try, you're going to be unhappy. Because the thing is, there's always going to be someone who needs you. Always. That's the world of being an empath. There is always someone who needs that acceptance. There's always somebody who's going to need to, be comforted, to be supported. It just doesn't stop unless we make it stop. Unless we put it on pause for a few minutes, or a day, or a week. We need to be able to move ourselves to the front of the list without feeling bad about it. And, that's a tricky thing, at least at first. Then it gets good. And then we get used to it. So when we go into a place of, when we're reaching that, where it's like up to here, and we're getting to that point where we do not want to talk to anybody, we do not want to be around anybody. When the calls come in, it goes straight to voicemail. That's when you need to take some time off, when you need to take a break. No one is going to give you a break. You have to take it. You have to claim it for yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, there's everything right about it. So, like I said, first, get the good boundaries, get the good agreements. Be able to verbalize what you need, because they're not going to know. You have the sensitivity. They probably don't. And all they perceive is the world from their perspective. So we need to make it clear. We don't get to sit back and go, well, they should know what I need. They should know I need a break. No, they shouldn't. Not necessarily. They don't have the same sensitivity. So you need to tell them. We need to tell them. We need to let people know. I'm taking a time out. I'm taking some time off. I will be happy to help you, and always have somebody, like if you know somebody who's also very good at listening or whatever, and they're doing okay. And that's a great thing about getting to know other empaths, is that you reach that point where it's like, you know what, I need some time off. If this friend calls, is it okay if I give them your number and then they can talk to you? And, in most cases, we have that agreement to where we back each other up. It's sort of like, as a chiropractor, if I'm going to be out of town, I let my patients know, okay, there's this other chiropractor who I've already talked to, that if they need care, they can go to that person. Just have your backups and make sure that when you say, I'm going to be offline tomorrow, or I'm going to be out of the area, that you commit to it. Don't back down. Don't, well, that person called, so I really need to take their call. Do your best not to do that. Don't do that. Give yourself a full break. I mean, if it's a situation where, you already know that this person has a particular special need, maybe you make the exception for one person. Say, okay, one person gets to come into that space, but not for a prolonged period of time. It's like, okay, if you need to check in with me, fine. I will shoot you out a text message, or we can chat for about 15 minutes, 30 tops, and then you reclaim your time. But it's best if you go ahead and just tell everybody, it's like, you know what, everybody can survive for one day without you. Everybody. Part of that is like our ego, where we don't want to think that the world can go on without us. But yeah, it can. It does. If you weren't there, they would figure something else out. If it's, if you're pre-planning it, say, you know what, while I'm gone, here's some things that you can do. People love busy work, especially if, they're learning into spiritual practices. It's like, okay, over this week, I want you to do this, this, and this. Maybe it's like, all right, I want you to journal this entire week. I want you to spend time in the woods or whatever, discover your grounding point, and I want to hear about it when I get back. So that way, you can, if you have students or if you have people who you're kind of guiding through things, give them some busy work, give them an assignment that'll take them a couple of days. And that is something that will be really great because, if you're teaching or guiding, you should be doing that anyway, because it helps people grow. And if you need to be able to take some time off, there's nothing wrong with giving folks busy work. Now, if you're just, on your own, if you don't have anybody obligated to you, or if you are in a relationship and, or in a family situation, it still applies. You could still take that time off for yourself. If you had kids, I remember what it was like to have kids. Find somebody who can occupy them for a little bit. It's, with COVID-19 and all of that, it's a little bit trickier, but it's not impossible. And you can still be able to take time as long as you prearrange it. You can prearrange it with a family member who will watch them for, a day or overnight, or, you don't have to go away for a prolonged period of time, even if you can just get a few hours away. And you can find a way to occupy the kids for a couple of hours. If you need ideas, contact me. I've got lots of ideas. Mine are grown and in their 30s, but I do still remember that. So make time for yourself. It is especially crucial during times when everything is going so crazy and you're in such intense energetic fields. So do your best to listen to yourself when when what's going on in here starts to get wound up a little too much and you need a break. Take the break. Because like I said, the more you take a break, sometimes the less you do for people means the more you're capable of doing for people. But don't put yourself in a situation where you reach burnout, because then you can't do anything for anybody for a while. You deserve a break, so go for it. The world will be waiting when you get back. So, thank you for joining me. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can leave them in the comments section. You can also reach me through my Facebook group, Medicine Walk with Dr. Ayleen. You can follow me on Twitter, and my email address is in the description. So if you want to contact me about a particular question, feel free to do so. If you like this video, please press like. And also, if you like what we do, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. And if you have, thank you. So, I'll be back tomorrow, and I will be, checking if in case there is a question that comes up. I will do my best to cover it in the next episode if I do get a question. So again, thank you for joining me. As always, I wish you balance, and I wish you blessings from my heart to yours. Love you, and see you next time. Bye.